I was like,
You are now entering the Ghoulfriend Hour. Welcome to the Ghoulfriend Hour.
Hey everybody! Welcome to another episode of the Ghoulfriend Hour. I'm your host, your ghost host, Morgan Fezza.
and I am all of a ghost, Rachel Faust.
And today we have some really exciting stuff to bring to you guys. We are calling this episode Raised by Ghosts, Growing Up in a Haunted House.
I love it.
We've all had some kind of experience. You're like kind of talking about it, and Rachel had a really great idea about, we had some like really good listener stories, and kind of like a lot of people, we were getting like the same consensus that a lot of people had some kind of weird experience, like their first paranormal experience. A lot of the times was right in their own backyard, right in their house, and we were like, well, this is pretty relatable. Let's hear from the people around us. Let's pose this question. Did you grow up in a haunted house? And if you did, what are some stories that you had? Or maybe it was an aunt's house or a grandparent's house, but we all have some kind of exposure or experience to something supernatural or spooky happening close to home that we can't explain. So yeah, let's start off our normal podcast banter. How's your week going?
Oh, it's going. It's going. I think we're both. It's going.
Yeah, the people are peopling this week. They're pushing every elevator button that we have.
Yes.
But yeah, we reached 1,000 followers on Instagram. I was super excited, and so we just want to thank you guys for listening and just really being a part of this podcast, because when we started this podcast, I mean, we maybe got up to like 34 followers at one point, and we're just, no matter what happens with this, if we go down to 5 followers, if we have no followers, we just love talking about all of this spooky stuff. And so we really just want to thank you guys for 1,000 followers. We have reached, I think it was 17 different countries. No, that's not right.
Don't ask me. I don't know anything.
I know. I'm so terrible with like geography. It was 17 different places, we'll say.
I'm like, I went to private school. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I was like really excited, but I was like, I don't know what that's classified as. So yeah, we're very well versed in the paranormal.
Don't ask me about geography or math.
Yeah, don't test us on geography.
No.
Yeah, we don't talk about math anymore. We do the basic stuff like addition, subtraction.
Yeah, they lied to us with the whole "you won't have a calculator in your pocket" BS. I got one right here. I got
Rachel comes strapped with that thing.
Yeah, I got ChatGPT, and that's all that matters. I would have been unstoppable in high school,
dude. If we had ChatGPT in,
that's how I know
elementary
everything.
To like middle and high school, we would have.
That's how I know everything.
They're smart though. These teachers teachers got smart because they can't use, they have all these tools now.
It would have worked back in the day, I guess, but
I feel like if it was new and I feel like we did a better job at keeping stuff under wraps. Like, I feel like everything now, they're like, "Oh, school hacks, ChatGPT on TikTok," and then all of a sudden it's viral, and the teacher's like, "All right, we gotta put a stop to this nonsense."
Exactly.
But yeah, so I just wanted to like tell everybody. So as far as gender goes, we have a 73.5%
These are the
female listener rate.
whoop, whoop.
Yeah. And we have a 23.5% male listener rate.
All right.
We have a 3% not specified. And then as far as ages goes, I was actually really excited about this. From ages 0 to 17, I mean, I don't know any newborns that are listening to our podcast. So we're going to go with like maybe like I don't know why 0 to 17 is an option because I don't know any 0-year-olds that are listening to this. But they're 0.6%. 18 to 22, we have 0.5%. 23 to 27, 15.4%. 28 to 34, 34% is the max. So shout out to the people our age.
Yeah.
Thanks. We see you, we hear you, we love you. 35 to 44, we have a 26.9% listener rate. And then 45 to 59, we have a 14.4.
Wow.
And then even as far as 60 plus, we have an almost 7.9% rate on that.
There it is.
So I mean, that's pretty good. I feel like we literally hit every mark. So we have a bunch of age groups. And then we have 17. So I was right. Countries. 17 different countries. We have reached, obviously, United States with 90.8%, the United Kingdom, Singapore, Australia, Brazil, Canada, Russia, Ukraine, Ireland, the Philippines, Algeria, Slovakia, Sweden, Denmark, South Africa, Jamaica, and our newest one is Norway.
Wow.
So we've really, I was really excited to
crazy.
15 countries. And so our
appreciating the shenanigans all over the world.
Oh yeah, all over. And I was really surprised because the platforms that we like have like flip-flopped on was we started really big on Spotify. That's where we had most of our audience from. Now we have an almost 50% on Apple Podcasts.
Wow.
So I was very surprised at that. And then the other half is Spotify, and then there's like a 13% just like web browser. People, I guess, I don't really know what that means. I guess just like, are you Googling? Are y'all Googling?
I'm just realizing now that my background is mirrored. So,
wait, it looks normal. It looks normal to me.
Okay, all right.
So maybe
on my end, I was like, why is my ghost on the other side? So that's what I was. Never mind.
Yeah, well, I feel like if you flip it, it's going to be like our Ghoulfriend. It's going to be like,
yeah, I don't know.
Your ghost will be on that. I've done that before.
Non-possessed computer this time, and I don't know where to look. And I was like, I can't do that again. I was so frustrated.
We are not losing Rachel tonight. Okay,
absolutely not. I was so upset. I was like, he was like, why aren't you on the podcast? I was like, because my computer kicked me off and I can't get back on.
I have to say, Veronica came in so fast and had me dying. She was like, Rachel, where are you, Rachel?
I don't know. Dude. I kept clicking on and clicking off, and then it's like, I was like, absolutely not.
I love it though. I love it. It's our well, we can't call it our Zoom ghost anymore because we don't use Zoom. It's just our podcast ghost.
Yeah. And it hates
saying hi to Josh. Hey Josh.
It hates Ouija boards. Anytime we talk about them.
Every time. It happened with Dave Giuliano. It happened when we were talking about all the games.
That was the 2 times that it's happened.
Literally. Nana says hi. Hi, Nana.
Little Peach is a pumpkin.
Peachy Peach.
Yeah.
She's so cute.
She's sassy.
She's like, but I love her though. Like I wish I could embody her spirit. Like she she doesn't care. She's like,
right now we're in our hyper fixation of Camp Rock, and we start the day with the soundtrack, and we have to do.
Yeah, but you probably love that. You're a Joe Bro fan.
Okay, I loved it, and now it's like, oh God.
That's why you can never show your kids the things that you love. I learned that lesson so hard.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, girl, like, this is a lot here.
Like we have music rations. You get 5 plays for the day.
Yes.
That's it. Like
Yeah.
then you're
You
cut off.
start the day with it. I was like, I
Yeah.
miss when we had our Chapel Roan phase. That one was fine. I was like, now we're
That
into
was fun. That was fun.
now we're into camp rock and listening to the same songs. And she's like, I'm Demi Lovato. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you about Demi Lovato. I was like, you can like Demi Lovato. She wasn't camp rock, but I'm not. I won't ruin that magic for you.
Dude, freaking what was I gonna say? I was watching because that TikTok video with Camp Rock, like where she's saying, this is it. No, I feel like that was just from her Demi Lovato phase. I don't even know if that was from Camp Rock. Like how she used to do the thing with her knees,
Mm-hmm.
like
Disney knees.
Disney
That's what
knees,
they
yeah,
knees.
these knees. Yeah, like I keep seeing people do that, and she actually reacted to one. She saw somebody doing it, and she like stitched it, and she was so embarrassed. And I'm like, girl, all the Disney stars, like I bet you, like even when I look back at Hannah Montana, I thought her wig was so fly. I
Mhm.
look at it now, and I'm like, bro, that is like the most non-blended wig. Like that looked terrible.
Hardest.
Why did I think that was like legit? Anyways, we digress. We digress as always. We have so many stories. You guys blew us away. So the reason why we were reading off some of our stats is because like we just think it's so amazing that like our listeners have gone up, that people are giving us so much great feedback on the podcast. We've gotten so many new followers from so many different backgrounds and locations, and so it's really cool to see a bunch of people writing in now. We're finally getting listener stories, and everybody was so interested in this topic about growing up in a haunted house, and we're so eager to tell their stories. And so we just wanted to say thank you again to you guys for, being so present with this podcast and being so willing to just contribute and be the reason that we're succeeding, because without you guys, we would just be like the Ghoulfriend Hour. Like we would just be doing this. We'd just be tap dancing.
I think we would probably just be doing this.
We'd
Even
just
if
be
nobody
doing
was
this.
watching
Like, yeah, we wouldn't have like, I feel like it would be fun. I mean, we would just like our delusional personalities would just keep each other busy for hours. But like sometimes it helps to have other delusional people and like, our fun, freaky, lovable weirdos in the comment section feeding our delulu selves,
There it is. Yep.
So
I like
but
it.
yeah, so let's kick it off. Some of the things that I wanted to read before we get into this is just some fun facts about paranormal and haunted locations. Some statistics that I had found in research, about haunted houses, people growing up in them, and kind of your statistics about it. How often are you going to run into, if you're searching for a home? Does it have to be disclosed in certain states? How
In
often are you going to
Delaware,
come
it does
across
not.
that?
Delaware,
I
you
know it
cannot
doesn't.
disclose.
I'm not gonna lie, I was that person that there was this house that Zach was selling, and I really liked it. Like, I was like, "This looks spooky. Like, there's something about this." And I literally was like, "Is this haunted, Zach?" And he's like, "I can't disclose that to you." And I'm like, "It
Mhm.
is." Like, in my heart of hearts, I'm like, it's gotta be. I just believe it. And I didn't buy it, but
Yeah.
I dreamt of it.
There are
Um
I feel like any house like in downtown Dover, like it's gotta be.
But like not even downtown Dover. Here in Sussex, there is so many like historical like farmhouses and like
Mhm.
landmarks, and like there's a lot of places, and especially up north. North has like in Wilmington, and there's so many like estates, and like let's all I hope I don't get like I don't want to get taken out by like the federal like government for this, but I'm just I'm scared because I'm like DuPonts.
Oh, no.
Because anytime you open up the DuPont door, it's scary.
Yeah.
But like, like they say some of the DuPont houses are haunted. I've
There's,
heard the ghosts of like
we've done some weddings at Vanderwyn, and they're in Sussex County, and they have this farmhouse, and every time I'm there, the girl will tell me that she's gonna take me in, and then I lose her, and then she never takes me in, but she's like, "There are some weird occurrences that happen like at the house, like the venue's behind this house. But she's like, there's stuff in the windows. She said they had a guy one time doing like some drone stuff, and anytime it would fly over the house, it would like disrupt and like go black and like all this stuff. I was like, oh
What?
man.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard so many stories about like a lot of stuff in Delaware, more so than I realized, because I did not realize that it's as haunted as it is. And I mean, I guess I should have. It's the first state, so I mean, that's pretty fucking old. Like, there's no doubt gonna be some kind of like,
Yeah.
we're old as shit, so there's something there. But yeah, so I was looking at some statistics, and so number one is belief in ghosts and hauntings. So as of 2021, this is the last time this poll was kind of taken. YouGov, a poll found that 45% of Americans believe that ghosts and spirits can haunt places. So only 45% of Americans actually believe that places can be haunted. 43% of Americans claim to have felt the presence of a ghost or a spirit, and that was in 2022. Now, as far as reported hauntings, the National Register of Historic Places includes over 2,300 sites in the US that are reported to be haunted. And this is my favorite statistic because this says that Gettysburg, Pennsylvania is one of the most haunted locations in the US. Records like thousands deep of paranormal experiences annually. That's annually. So every year there's thousands and thousands.
That comment just got me like, ah.
Yeah. Well, so, and it's funny, Kelsey, because we're going to kind of touch upon this today because one of my very first, how do I word this without giving too much away? One of my very first experiences with a paranormal show that it still scares me to this day, was based off of something like this. And I'm sure a lot of you who are avid in the paranormal know probably what I'm alluding to. But quickly, I just want to get back to these. So Gettysburg, like I said, annually, they have thousands of paranormal experiences that are reported. Now, getting to real estate and haunted houses, 30 I don't have my glasses. 36%, I almost said 38. 36% of home buyers would be less likely to buy a house if it was rumored to be haunted. I am not part of those 36% because I would 100% buy a house if it was haunted. I was trying to.
Oh man.
13% of people have knowingly lived in a haunted house, according to a 2017 survey. Which, guys, really good documentary out kind of about this. You got to check out the Fox Hollow Murders. It was based off of a book written by Richard Estep and Robert Graves. Shout out to them. The book, phenomenal. The Hulu series based off of it, also phenomenal and jaw-dropping. But Robert Graves bought the house that is Fox Hollow Farm, where all these spooky things took place. I won't give too much away. You guys have to look into it. But yeah, so another case of a haunted house. But this, 13% have knowingly lived in a haunted house and have bought it on purpose. Half of home buyers said they wouldn't mind a haunted house if it had desirable features like a good location or a price, which kind of leads me to the fact that a lot of people have gotten themselves into some notorious situations because of their financial needs. So a house has a really attractive price. And I think nowadays, knowing what we know about like haunted houses, huh?
I said, I'll take it haunted.
Yeah, like, I mean, in this housing market, yeah. I mean, depending on what you're selling it for, if it's got good bones and it's cheap, it's for me. But like,
that's all right. We'll take it.
As long as they're respectable. Like, don't be running up my electric bill and don't be like keeping me up at night and we're cool. Like, let's be good roommates. But yeah, so like a lot of people in these stories that we have found, kind of researching more like famous haunted houses, they typically were in a financial hardship, looked at houses either well below their means or within that kind of bracket that they were looking at, and they've fallen in love with a deal that seems too good to be true, and they find themselves in a very precarious situation. So, that wasn't super surprising to me, but those are our statistics on paranormal and haunted locations. So now, kind of talking about that a little bit, let's get into our first listener story. Rachel, without further ado.
I got a lot of stories. All right, so this is our first one. This is from April. A few years ago, my mom lived in a mobile home in Magnolia that was haunted. Back in 2017, I had returned to my mom's house from Florida vacation when I noticed some strange activity around the house. The first thing I remembered happening that was confirmed that there was an entity in the house was the lease to the mobile home was sitting on the counter, magically fell on the floor. There was no fans on, the AC wasn't on, no windows open. Sorry. Goodness gracious. The second event was the computer chair with wheels that would randomly pull itself out from the desk. The third event was when I was taking a nap on the couch and a huge dip, like a person had sat on the couch, woke me up in a panic, but not too stunned to move because I was scared. From that point, you should know that everything only gets worse.
I'm sorry, I'm putting on creepy music. We didn't do
Scared
that.
me. That just scared
No, this computer's haunted too.
I literally like,
Dude, if you were 2 for 2, I would be like, nah, it's not even the computer at this point, it's the
I'm like,
house.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here. All right. The fourth event that happened was when I was sleeping, it felt like somebody whispered in my ear. I shrugged it off as nothing, and the next event sent me over the edge that night as I was sleeping in the back bedroom in a twin-size bed. I'm always a light sleeper, and I have been my entire life. So I woke up because there was a tug on my foot. I slowly open my eyes, and I see nothing's there. So I close my eyes again, and all of a sudden the blankets have been completely pulled off of me. In a panic and scared, realizing what had just happened, I pretend like I didn't notice what had happened, and I pull the covers back on me. I take a couple of deep breaths and slowly pull the covers over my head so I can open my eyes and try to calm myself down. At this point, I have to tell my mom what happened because I'm now not sleeping. The next morning, I tell my mom everything that happened, and she brushes it off. For a period of time, I didn't see any activity in the house. Shortly after I had moved out one day, my mom asked me to stay at the house and house sit for her. So yes, I said, of course. It's around 11 p.m. and there's a door that goes between the washer and the dryer, and it's a double door. As I'm watching TV, in my peripheral, I see the door slowly open all the way. At this point, I've been so agitated with this entity, I decide to confront it. So I start yelling, "You're a piece of shit. Leave me alone, you bitch-ass ghost."
I mean, seems legit.
As I'm grabbing my belongings at the same time and walking out of the house. As I was walking out of the house, I try to lock the door, but it's jammed as if somebody was holding the doorknob, so you can't turn it. So after I yell 3 times, "Let me lock the door," the knob then releases it so I can lock the bottom lock. I call my mom and tell her what happened. Again, she never had any problems. Well, after that, I never returned to spend the night unless my family was home. I moved to Florida for about a year and the activity had stopped, but had gotten worse. At the time, my youngest sibling was living with my mom and I was visiting for Christmas. My mom had a rule that if you get drunk, you can't come home, but and you can't come home before 12, then don't come home at all. Great rule, right? So one night I'm spending the night at my friend's house and I get a call at 3 a.m. from my mom, followed by a text saying, "Are you knocking on the door? Are you outside?" So then I answer and I call her back, and it was not good. My sister claims that this energy was demonic. She claims that she had a separate experience with this entity. What had happened that night was that the energy was growling in her ear when she was asleep. She claimed that the entity was tall and had red eyes. So I get a call at 3 a.m. followed by the text, and I call my mom back, and she says, "I'm not supposed to talk right now. I'm waiting for the priest to get here, and I'm waiting for Donna to get here." Donna was our trusted friend who was also a psychic medium. Donna said not to talk about it anymore until she gets here. But at this point, I'm being persisted because I know what's going on. So my friend drops me off at the house at 6 a.m. and we walk through the door. My mom and my sister are sitting on the couch still awake. In the house, we have a picture of Jesus Christ on our walls. Then we heard banging on the wall. That's when they were sleeping, and they thought I was knocking on the door, trying to get into the house. They said that they went into the living room, and initially the knocking had stopped, but when my mom and sister were both together, the knocking started happening behind the picture of Jesus on our wall, and they could physically see the picture bouncing from the knocking on the wall. Mind you, the walls were thin. It's a mobile home. So later around 11 a.m., Donna and the priest show up at the house. Donna said that there was a man who had a particular interest in young women, aka me and my sister. However, Donna had told us not to speak of this incident as it would bring it up this person again. But I had a feeling that this was something more than that. What was told from our own protection, and that's why we weren't allowed to talk about it. Donna described the house as foggy, smoky, and dark. And she said that there were people living here before us that were not good people. She mentioned that they practiced witchcraft and worship of Satan. She also mentioned that there were some small children that died in a fire a few mobile homes down from us.
Dude.
So that's the first one.
Dude, nothing is scarier than when it comes to like low vibrational, like evil entities. Like, that's terrifying, because when it comes to like religious relics doing really like sussy stuff, like if my cross is flying off the wall or like my picture of Jesus is thumpity thumping, like that's not all right. Like,
No.
I'm about to be like, we got problems. Like, oh, I don't know. That just that freaked me out. But yeah, so we have another listener story, and this is from Nishika. Nishika I had met on Instagram, and she's just fabulous. I absolutely adore her. Super sweet. And she decided to share her story with us. So she said, this is something that happened to me and my little sister, and to this day we still don't know what we saw. It was around 6 p.m. on a cloudy evening just after sunset. The house was quiet, and our mother told us to fold the laundry. We were in our room folding clean laundry, and our bedroom door was open, giving us a clear view of the basket full of dirty clothes by a wall. All the lights were on because it was such a gloomy day. So, while we were folding clothes, out of nowhere, a dark figure sprinted across the hallway, and it was fast. Too fast. Both of us immediately turned toward the movement at the same time and then looked at each other and said, "You saw that, right?" And she nodded. I thought maybe it was our little brother running to the washroom, but there was no sound or footsteps. After we finished folding, we went to the living room and saw my dad and brother just walking through the front door. They had just gotten home. We had asked our little brother if he had run down the hallway earlier, but he looked confused and said they had just arrived. Our mother also reassured us that no one had been on that side of the house. The part that still freaks us out is that when the shadow passed, the overfilled laundry basket shifted, and the clothes on top fell onto the floor. Mind you, we were nowhere near it, but we could see it. This was the only physical proof we couldn't deny, because otherwise we would have definitely chalked it up to being our imagination. I asked my sister again if she was absolutely sure she saw it, and she swears on her life, from the side of my eye, it looked like a giant shadowy black orb, but my sister did say it looked like a shadow person. This was the only time we experienced something like this, but it's not our first paranormal encounter. LOL.
And there's always strength in numbers. If you both saw it, then that's scary enough to confirm, like, oh yeah, I did see that.
Nothing scares me more than when you definitely saw something. Like, so like I always see things on a normal basis that other people obviously don't see. My husband, though, when he kind of says to me, like, hey, did you just see that? And it's not something that he would normally see. I'm like, oh, I'm like, that's good. Oh, that's great. Good, great, grand. But what gets me too is like, when like an animal acknowledges it. Oh, sometimes like I feel like animals are obviously very intuitive to those kinds of things, or when there is a physical reaction from something that is acting very non-physical. So like she said, like the evidence of something having run from one end to the other because it knocked over, like it physically tipped over the laundry basket, which like if you've ever run by something or even like tipped, like you've even like kind of like just caught the edge of a laundry basket and it kind of folds over. I mean, it does take a little bit of force. It's not just something that's gonna like, you know, topple over. So the clothes that kind of like fell out of it, like I don't know, like for me it's the physical confirmation, and then she also has the validation from her sister.
Oh.
Definitely spooky.
Oh my gosh.
All right, our next story. Well, I got loads of background music.
All right. So this collection of stories is from girl Jessie, and as soon as I posted to my Instagram story about we were looking for stories, she was like, oh, I got some for you. So there's a couple different stories in this one, but very creepy. So she said, my dad's house is hella creepy. When I was little, I had decorative plates that hung on my bedroom wall, and she had mentioned that this one was the black cat plate that she had. One night I couldn't sleep because I was too creeped out. The plate started spinning in its prongs, then dropped onto the bed and onto the floor and didn't shatter. Hands down, the creepiest unexplained thing that's ever happened to me. So the next short one was my sister and I always heard footsteps upstairs. We called it Charlie the house ghost. And that's when she was like, I'll ask her if she has any other stories. So she said, my mom said she didn't have anything specific, but we always felt negative energy there. And she and my dad fought about buying the house because she didn't like the vibes. She said that she never went to the basement because she felt like somebody was watching her, and all of us kids knew and felt like somebody was chasing us up the stairs when we went down there. So me and my brother and sister have all experienced sleep paralysis at least once in that house, never in any other houses. There's always been like a dark shadow figure sitting and watching. My sister always says she was in the basement one night and she turned around and there was a tall figure staring at her, and then it stomped up the stairs and slammed the door. It was in the middle of the night and everyone else was asleep. Also, my brother is heavy in addiction, and we always said it's got something to do with the negativity in that house. He lives in another state and has been fine, but anytime he's at my dad, he's got a really bad state of mind. She said the stories keep coming. So one time my mom had a Pyrex dish. She pulled it out of the oven and exploded on the counter and burnt holes in the kitchen floor. And then another time my sister said there was a glass pitcher on the table and it exploded too. Apparently, anytime you ask my dad about these events, he gets super mad and he shuts down.
That's definitely like a sign of fear. Like, I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I feel like anytime.
If I don't acknowledge it, like it's not real. It's not
Yeah.
there.
I feel like men like can sometimes get super weird about stuff like that, and they're just like, nope, we're not acknowledging it. It didn't happen. Don't talk about it. But the next story that actually I'm gonna let you, because we have a couple of shorter ones, Rachel. So if you want to just finish them off before we go into the longer ones.
Okay. Yep, I have two more. So this one's from Linda. She's a family friend. She's also a photographer and she is phenomenal. So she said, I have a spooky story. I was living in an apartment with my aunt and our cousin was killed in a car accident. The backstory was he always wanted to drive, but this one time his friend insisted on driving and he took a left turn in front of a cop going to a call and they were killed. So my aunt and I were unable to make it to his funeral. I'm not 100% sure, but I think the day of his funeral, I was getting ready to go to class and I heard a clicking noise in the apartment's living room. I went out and saw a perfect square of fog that was about 2 feet off the ground and about 1 foot thick. There was like a funnel on the back right corner. I first thought it was steam from the shower, but her cat would not go in the living room. I kept trying to get her to go, but she wouldn't. And I took photos. And when I got them back, there was absolutely nothing showing.
Oh, that's spooky. That's the worst when you're like, no, I saw something. And your camera's like, no, you didn't.
All right. So my last story is from Zachary Faust, who grew up in a Victorian home in Felton. And
is this the same one that his parents have now?
Yes.
I love that house.
I told him, I was like, I'm getting Morgan. We're taking her spirit box over there. And
dude,
like,
I'm telling you, we can do I will literally do a whole investigation with you over there because he had a woman's spirit on the staircase of his house. So you know, like the corner with like the it's like the stained glass, like that really beautiful, it's like that circular, I don't know, it's like nothing I've ever seen right at the bottom of the stairs there. His mom was showing me that at your 30th.
Oh, okay.
And giving me like a house tour because I was like, oh my god, I was like, I don't want to be a freak, but I like really like your house. And she was showing me, and I'm like, you got stuff.
There was a woman, she died in that house, and they had her whole viewing in their front, like
really?
Yes.
I would love to. Okay, so make sure you don't show me like, do they have any pictures or anything of what she looked like when she was alive?
I don't think so, but you probably should be able to Google that or something. I know the name.
Okay, so keep the name. Don't ever tell me it because I want to validate it. Because I'm like, I saw a woman on his staircase, and I remember like looking at his mom. Like, I always feel people out. Like, I'm like, you see that too? And if they don't, I'm like, okay, that's just me. Like, that's a me thing. And I was like, so I was like, okay. And I'm like, y'all got some spirits going on here. Y'all got some
Yeah.
stuff going on.
He talks about, not in this story, but they have the front staircase and then the back staircase where it's really thin and like steep. And he's like, every time like growing up there, you would be going down the steps and then like you'd hear like a second like set of footsteps behind you.
Oh,
Like, nip.
we have to do an investigation. If they would let us, we should definitely do it.
Oh yeah, I'm down for it. I'm like, this is something serious. The ghosts. All right. So I was 16 years old. I was getting home from after playing basketball for hours. I was sweaty, exhausted, ready for a shower. My parents were outside in the backyard and my brother wasn't home. So I had the whole house to myself. Now, this wasn't just any house. It was an old 1800s Victorian built before colors existed, probably. It had a bit of a reputation. We knew for a fact at least one person had died there. And over the years, there were unusual and weird experiences, footsteps on the back stairs, cold whispers on your neck, unsettling feelings of being watched, especially upstairs. But up until that night, I hadn't really had any real experiences. I hopped in the shower and I left the door open because why not? I'm home alone. About 5 minutes in, I'm shampooing my hair and the door slams shut hard. My immediate thought, one of my parents must have come inside, seen steam, and shut the door. Annoying, but logical. But it was weird how fast and loud it shut. Victorian doors are heavy. I finished my shower, I poked my head out, and that's when I realized that the door wasn't just shut, it was locked. Now, the door didn't have a simple twist lock. It was an old school metal latch that you had to physically lift up, slide over, and drop into place. And I knew for a fact I had left the door open. There was no way a simple slam could have moved the lock through all those motions. I got dressed, I walked outside, and I asked my parents if either one of them had come in and shut the door. My dad barely even knew I was home. Neither of them had stepped foot inside the house. So somehow that door on its own slammed shut, locked itself. I still can't explain, but I'm not convinced it was normal. So like, yeah, that bathroom still has the like, you lift it up, you put it over, you lift it down.
Dude, that's like, I want to live in a Victorian home so badly because like I just love them, but I'm like, I would really have to like spend a little bit of time in it before I like bought it, because like it's just like people, you know, you can meet somebody and really like them on the first day that you meet them, and then like when their, you know, their mask starts to come off, you're like, hey, I'm not really sure I like you so much. Like, you know, so I feel like that's like you have to be careful when you're looking at houses, because like especially like if you can feel those kinds of things, like I want like a I don't mind having some spirits in my house, but I don't want them to be like of the dark variety. Like I don't want them to be like negative and oppressive and heavy.
There was a night that we stayed there before we went on a trip, and we were upstairs in the guest bedroom, and he like flinched over, and I was like, what? He was like, why are you pulling my back hair? And I was like, I'm over here trying to go to sleep. I'm not touching your back hair. And so we always joke like about, oh, the witch was pulling your back hair. So anytime we go there, like something happens, I was like, it's the witch. She's pulling your back hair.
Oh my God. Of all things, his back hair.
Yeah. I was like
why would I be laying over here pulling on your back hair?
The tiny little wispy back hair you got going on. And I'm just over here just.
You're like, don't you know, as wives, we just do the rollover and like we just wallop you. There's no need to.
He's like, why are you doing that? And I was like, doing what? Laying here, going to sleep.
You're like, bless that boy. I don't know what that is, but good luck. As long as she's not pulling my back hairs, that's all I care about.
So it's always the joke, the witch that pulled your back hair.
I love that though. I love it. So we have some longer ones that are really, really good. So we had a submission from, actually, I guess I should play. We do have a
this music is cracking me up. That's why
the little jazz music. I can pause that now since we're kind of done reading stories. But I had I'm trying to think of how to do this because it's an MP3 file. And I forgot to upload it, so I might have to let that upload for a quick second. But we had some submissions from people in our paranormal circle. One of them being IPR's very own Megan. And I don't want to butcher your last name, so I'm going to say Megan B. She said, "Hi, friends. I saw your post about submitting stories of living in a haunted house, and I felt compelled to share my story. I actually grew up in 2 houses that had paranormal activity by a spirit who has followed my family for decades, and as well as other spirits linked to the home's properties. However, I am only going to send you the story about the first home that I grew up in for now." Says, I first need to give you some background information. My mother grew up in a home in Wynwood, PA, and there was a spirit of a young woman with long brown hair that everyone in the home, as well as guests visiting, would frequently see. She particularly liked my uncle, and as a teenager, he would wake up in the middle of the night to see her sitting in front of his TV. Her back would always be facing him, and she would be brushing her hair. He always thought it was my mom and would yell at her to get out of his room and then would go back to sleep. The next day, he would learn that my mom was at a sleepover at a friend's house and not home on the nights that he would see her. Fast forward to the early 90s, my grandparents moved to a home in Drexel Hill, PA. The home is split into an office that my grandfather would run his business out of. This information is important for later on in the story. My uncle lives in the home for a brief period of time and had his room in the attic that he converted into an apartment. He would wake up in the middle of the night to see the same woman who had haunted his childhood home. In 1998, my uncle moved out of the home and my family moved in to care for my grandparents who were aging and in bad health. My room was in the attic, and while living in this home, sorry guys, I'm tired. I did not experience any paranormal activity until my grandfather passed away. A few months after his passing, I was sleeping in my room in the attic when I suddenly woke up. I remember having the feeling as if I was being watched, and I turned to look up. When I did, I saw a woman floating at the foot of my bed. She had long, brown, wavy hair, a green colored dress, but no face. There was a black hole where a face should have been, and I screamed. Right in front of my eyes, this woman disappeared. I ran out of the room and refused to go back upstairs in the attic ever again. I then moved my bedroom into a room that was once part of my grandfather's office. This room was on the complete opposite side of the house, away from my parents' and siblings' bedrooms. Next to my new bedroom was my grandfather's old office, where time stood still. All of his old filing cabinets, work desks, and computers remained. I would wake up in the middle of the night to the sound of someone typing on the keyboard, filing cabinets opening, and footsteps and someone rummaging around his desk. When I would tell my parents what I was hearing or about the female I saw floating at the foot of my bed, they brushed it off to me having an active imagination or being half asleep and dreaming these things. Sorry, guys, I don't have my glasses on, which was a poor choice on my behalf. I'm like, I want to make sure I'm reading the right word. Looking back, they did so I wouldn't be scared of what I was experiencing. However, as an adult, I learned that everyone in the house was also experiencing the same activity. So what do we think so far? That's spooky.
Yeah, a little office ghost. Filing cabinets.
I feel like hearing the keys and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be so spooky to me. I was made to feel like I was imagining these things, and I kept a lot of this to myself and did not tell other family members or friends about the things I was experiencing. About a year ago, I was having a conversation with my little cousin who used to visit the home during the holidays, and during our conversation, she asked if I remembered the haunted house that our grandparents owned. She then told me that one night while she was sleeping over, she woke in the middle of the night to see a woman floating at the foot of her bed. She had long brown hair, a green dress, and you guessed it, did not have a face. I wonder why she didn't have a face. Like, do you think it was like an injury or like...
As a ghost, I don't want a face.
Yeah. You're like, I need to take my face off because the other ghosts are going to be able to read me like an open book.
Yeah, my face really is.
RBF, just like it's probably best. They're like, hey, how do you want to come back? No, it's face. Probably just best. It's probably best that you just take my face.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... Okay, so the same woman that I saw, and up until this point, she did not know about my experience. So I could go on and on about the paranormal activity in that home. Additional experience I had were the sounds of a female calling my name, being touched, the sounds of someone walking around the house, particularly in the middle of the night when I knew everyone was sleeping, the smell of cigar smoke at random times, lights turning on and off, doors opening and shutting, the general feeling of not being alone, and our doorbell ringing between the hours of 12 and 4 a.m. with no one outside. The majority of this activity would occur in the middle of the night while everyone else was asleep in the house. Years later, we moved into a new home and continued to see this woman without a face. As a kid, I was petrified to be in that home, and I didn't understand what I was experiencing, nor did I have any understanding of the paranormal. All I knew is that what I was seeing is that I was seeing and hearing scary stuff, and I never wanted to be alone. As I grew up, these experiences made me interested in the paranormal. I am now a paranormal investigator where I particularly enjoy investigating residual hauntings. As a kid, and I can second this, I wish I had someone to come into the home and help me understand what I was experiencing so that I did not have to be so afraid. And I want to be that person for any kid or family who is feeling and experiencing the same things that I did. I still think about this house and I drive by it daily. Throughout the years, the home has been for sale numerous times, and I find that as quickly as families move in, they move out shortly later. I
Oh,
want this by telling you how much I love your podcast and all of you. Keep up the amazing work that you are doing, Megan.
oh my
Thanks,
god.
Megan. Run! Give Lourdes all my love. We miss you guys. If you guys have not checked out the digital seance experience with Ron and Lourdes, you guys are missing out. Make sure you go check out their stuff because it is just absolutely amazing. Or you can go to My Haunted Manor and check out the event that they're going to be doing. I believe it's at the end of this month, and there's another one on April 5th. Ron, feel free to correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong, and I can give the correct dates. But yeah, check it out, myhauntedmanor.com. That was advertisement.
Your advertisement.
We love you guys. But yeah, so that was my advertisement voice. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
No. But yeah, so Megan, I mean, I feel like that's how a lot of residual hauntings like start. Like there's always like like what I call like a signature entity. Like there's an entity that like seems to focus on one person or one like family member or just like something or somebody, and like focus its energy towards that. And like I always wondered why that is. Like what makes them choose you?
See, I think if I had to be haunted and there was something in my house, I would want it to be the same ghost or thing or whatever it is. Like I don't want a new one. I want to learn this one and be like, all right, I know what your deal is. I know what it is. Like don't be
Like let's become friends.
Yeah, don't be switching it up on me. Like
Dude, I feel like that's like me and Rosie right now. Like Rosie, like when she first came into this house, me and her were like, we're feeling each other out. And I was like, not too sure. But like the more that she's been here and we're respecting her, she's respecting us. Like Matt has like even started to like the other day, he was like, he's like, oh my God, I'm having dreams again. And what's crazy is our house was getting messy.
oh my God.
And so like my office was starting to turn into a travesty. It was really bad. And Matt's like, nope. He's like, I'm vacuuming. I'm cleaning this up. He's like, Rosie, I'm doing the work. Like he was like, because the minute it started getting really messy, we both started having really bad dreams again. And I'm like, listen, we've set expectations with each other. She's like, I don't care as long as you keep this office clean.
Oh my God.
And like you keep a good space, we're good. And even Matt's like, he's like, he walked in today. He did have I will say this. He had something grab his like thigh today, like the back of his leg. He felt something like, I shouldn't say grab it, like it wasn't like I'm gonna like aggressive. It was more of like me and the dogs were like coming out of my office. He was already like down the hall and the dogs are behind me, so it wasn't them. And like he whips around, he's like, what was that? He's like, was that you? And I was like, what? I was like, we were all the way back here. I'm like, homeboy, you were like knees to chest, like halfway down the hallway. And he was like, something literally just like swatted the back of my thigh, like kind of was like just like a pat. He goes, I thought you were like trying to smack my butt and like you missed. And I was like, no. I was like, first off, I don't miss. Second off, I might be blind. I'm not that blind. But Yeah, so like she's definitely cheeky, but like we're growing respect for each other, and like it's not like a bad type of haunting. I actually enjoy having her around.
See, that
I'm
would
like
be my preferred. Like, oh, it's predictable. It's the same one. I don't want to,
yeah.
mix it up here.
But like when you start getting into the territory of like it's either scaring your child or it's like malicious or there's like that's when like the mama bear claws come out and I'm like, okay, I'm like, that's fine. You want to play games? Let's play games. I'm like, because I can be scary too. I'm like, let's see how this is gonna go. I'm like, who's scarier? Because I can guarantee you're probably not gonna want to live here anymore.
Mhm.
I can get very scary. I'm like, don't bring out the gangster in me because it's not pretty. But anyways, because I'm like, when the second I roll up with that crucifix, we have issues. Like we're about to beef it out. So don't make me pull out the crucifix
Uh-uh.
and the holy water. Don't even make me go to a Catholic church and get the holy water. It's not a trip that I want to make. Even though I have 2 canisters that I paid for holy water for investigations, and I paid for the canisters, not the holy water. I didn't know you had to go to the church to get it.
Holy water sold separately.
And it didn't even specify that. Like, I wish it would have said holy water. Like, I got the containers and I was like so excited. I'm like, it's like this nice jars. They're like blasted. I picked that shit up and I'm like, did it evaporate? Because it was like the summertime. I was
Does
like,
not include holy water.
no, it didn't include it. So I was like, well, I'm glad I just paid like $25 a freaking jar for air. I'm like, and all my friends are like, oh, you didn't know you have to go to the church and get it? And I was like, the only churches that have it are like a Catholic church.
Hey, I'm here for some holy water.
I feel like that awkward TikTok. I can't talk today. TikTok sound like is gonna be like, hey, how y'all doing?
How y'all doing?
I'm just gonna be like, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna grab this and I'll just be right out of your hair. I'm just like, I'm gonna dip it real fast and then I'm just like, bless up. Raise hail, praise Dale. Bye. No, I can't. I'm done. I'm fucking done.
You're gonna be like, have you seen this woman? Do not let her in here.
Nana said she'll get it for me.
Oh gosh, we don't
Nana,
need
you need to, because like, listen, I'm a Christian by all means, but if I step into a Catholic church, I might go up in flames. So like, I don't think I can get that holy water, even if I wanted to. And Christian churches don't really have like holy water vegetables. Like they don't have like the little vegetables. I feel like it sounded like I said vegetables. Like, you know, like the containers, like the fancy like fountain looking things. I went to a Catholic church with my friends and they had like the really fancy like stone fountains. And I was like, oh, you guys have fountains. They're like, oh no, that's our holy water. I was like, wow, I'm such an uncultured swine. I need to like, I don't belong here.
I'm gonna scream the next time I go to Nana's house and she's like, look what I got. I'm like, I don't want to know.
Nana, if you could smuggle that holy water for me, that would be.
She's gonna show up to like Holy Cross in Dover, be like, "Hey, my girls have a podcast and they need some."
Can you give me the Costco size water?
Here's their Facebook page and their YouTube.
Honestly, Nana, if you're listening right now, can you also get a bag of those holy wafers?
Oh
like
my god!
Like the holy snack attacks, like those little things that like they're actually pretty tasty. I feel like they'd be good with some peanut butter.
She's just snacking down on little wafers over here,
or like a little cheese whiz. Dude, I was such a big back at like Catholic church because like when I found out they were giving out like grape juice and wafers. And like I don't even know what I said. I think I like because I didn't know I'm not Catholic. I'm a Christian. I grew up Protestant. So like we went to the church with like I would have to like, you know, if you sleep over at your friend's house and they're like, we gotta go to church with us the next day. So I was like, all right, fine. So like get up, you do the Catholic thing, and I'm like, you walk up and he was like, may Christ be with you. And I said, thank you. And I left. And they were like, did you just say thank you? And I was like, well, he gave me a wafer, like and some juice. I was like, I just said thanks. And they were like, you're supposed to say like, and also with you. Like, and I'm like, well, how? I'm like, you guys didn't give me a church manual on this, okay?
I didn't get the script here.
I didn't get the memo. So I just use my manners. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Yeah, I thought it did sound like I said vegetable, but I meant vegetable, like VESTUBLE, vegetable. And I think that's the right word. I'm trying to be better with my vocabulary. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's not. No, that's not. That's not it. I need to be canceled. Just take me out.
Oh my.
Nana said they make you hungry. They are a little dry. I feel like they could do something about that. Like spray with a little olive oil. Let's do it the Italian way. Just like
Put some sauce on them.
put some sauce on it. Give it like keep a jar of holy salsa next to the stand. Just give it a
Yep.
and then swoop it into my mouth. Anyways, we digress. If you want more Ghoulfriend Hour recipes on how to eat your holy wafers, like and subscribe, and we'll provide you 100 different ways that you can eat Catholic Church wafers. Which actually, I think now that I was thinking on, I think they did sell like snack packs of like wafers and wine on Amazon. But I don't think it's really wine. I think it's like grape juice.
It's on Amazon. So when you're shopping
Look
for your
it up.
wafers, see if
Seriously.
they have holy water in bulk. Amazon.
Hold on. Actually, because we're gonna, yeah, dude, they have pre-filled communion cups. They're basically like holy snack packs. Look, they got 50 packs. We're ordering these, and we're gonna have a tea party. You want to have a tea party with like? I'm sharing the screen. Hold on.
Toast some wafers.
Look, guys. Seriously, they have communion cups.
Oh, it's a 50 count.
This one's the best because look at this. It literally is a wafer on one side. It's like a little hourglass. Can you see him at this screen that I'm on? Share this tab instead. Okay, look at this, guys. You can even get a gluten-free wafer. But it's like a little hourglass. You eat the wafer and then you flip that bad boy over and you take a shot of the blood of Christ. And it's
Oh my God.
to me, that is like, yeah. I don't know. It's innovative. Is that the word I'm looking for? Innovative.
There you go.
Oh, vestibule. I was saying that wrong. Okay, guys, just don't listen to anything I say, actually.
Tomato.
We're fine. So anyways, getting back to our stories. So there was some freaky. So I found two like freaky deaky ones on Reddit that were like they freaked me out because they were like really spooky. And so I want to start with the first one because it's a little shorter and like your girl's winded when I'm reading. I don't know why. Deep breath. Okay. So this one's from the Wolf Woods sister is her screen name. She said, "Oh Lord, I think one of my most vivid moments was when I was wide awake one night as a child, about 5 years old, and I wanted to get up and go to my mother's room. But when I got to the end of my bed and looked out into the hallway, there was an enormous black dog lying on the folded quilts stacked on a trunk. Only something in my head told me that it wasn't a dog. It was a wolf, only bigger, and it looked like it had been dead for a while, kind of gaunt with runs poking out, and it watched me for hours, and whenever I met its stare, it would curl its lip back and bare its teeth at me. I was absolutely terrified, and I burrowed under my blankets, and I must have fallen asleep because it was morning when I opened them again. I rushed out to my mother and told her what I had seen, and she listened but thought it had been a nightmare. I took her to the truck in the hall and showed her the quilts had been crushed down like something heavy had been lying on it. And now this is where it gets weird. And this is kind of what I was talking about before with like physical evidence. She said there were very long, coarse guard hairs left behind.
Oh my God.
So not only was the blankets like pushed down, but there was the hairs left behind, like something like a dog had been sitting on it. And so this obviously like concerned the mom. Like she looked very concerned, but she didn't say anything except that I could yell for her and that she would come get me. That was it was kind of typical of that house, and it had been in the family 50 years when we left around 1999. A cold spot my sister and I avoided in the kitchen turned out to be where our grandmother died. And something banged the dishes together most of the night one time, and a friend was staying over and witnessed it. Moving shadows, things standing right up your back, scrambling around the room, talking shit, very hostile. My sister and I would both point to where the shadow thing was at the same time, know what it was doing at the same time, and we'd also hear what they were saying simultaneously as well. Just a whole lot of no fun. We had to clear the oppressive atmosphere in the house every week or so because it would get unbearable. When we moved, it was such a huge relief to be able to sleep without the near constant antagonism. Yeah, dude. The dog would be enough for me. I'd be like, who are you growling at? Like, what bills do you pay in this house?
Yeah.
First off, to be leaving dog hair on my blankets when we don't have a dog. And number two, to be growling at me. Like, I would keep a spray bottle by my bed with holy water. Holy water included.
Yes. Can you get a little spray bottle for it?
Yeah. No. Put your lip back the way it was. But yeah. So I read that one and it just freaked me out. So the other one was by Next Winter 7767. They were sharing some of their childhood stories of a severely haunted house that they grew up in. So they said, I really don't know where to really start, so I decided the beginning is always good. LOL. My childhood home was built over the old homestead of my great-grandparents, and we eventually added onto the home with an L-shaped addition. And that's when things started. Our two dogs refused to go into the addition, which happened to be mine and my two siblings' bedrooms, and they would bite you. Hair would stand up on their backs if you even tried to carry them back there. Oh, so they would bite you and their hair would stand up on their backs if you even tried to carry them back there. A black figure, huh?
Dogs know.
They do. They do. See how everything's coming full circle? What we talked about in the beginning. This is what we're talking about. But yeah, they said a black figure with red eyes would be seen repeatedly. My older brother put an arrow through the wall trying to shoot the figure. An arrow is an interesting choice. A little dangerous. We don't recommend that. Our CD players were thrown away because of the deep voice that would talk to you through it at night by name.
No.
See, that's where it would get me. Like, baby, I have a thing with baby monitors and like you know Insidious when that thing comes over the baby monitor. Anytime I would babysit or like when I was a nanny, even with my own child, like me and Matt were convinced, we're like, dude, we're gonna be sitting here one night and we're gonna hear something over the baby monitor. Like, imagine putting your Walkman on or like your CD and like something's like Morgan. Like I would be like,
I'm out.
I know I did not buy this CD out of a trunk of somebody's car on some back road. So this is not no mixtape. This is not like, why am I hearing this?
We had walkie-talkies, so when I would go outside with the dogs and Peach would be inside when she was a little bit younger, so we had walkie-talkies, and it scared me one time because they were sitting on the island in the kitchen and we were in the living room and it must have picked up something somewhere. All of a sudden we heard the walkie-talkies going and it was like some man's voice. I about peed my pants. I know that happens with like walkie-talkies sometimes, but
yeah, like it like the channels.
I was like, turn those off.
Dude, that would scare me.
Yes. Yep.
But it said my brother would wake me and tell me half asleep the red eye thing wouldn't let him sleep, so he slept on my floor. And my entire childhood, my dad would sleep on the couch until everyone was home because he swears something would sit down on the bed and then lay down beside him. The dryer would turn on repeatedly, even if you unplugged it. And cooking in the kitchen, you would get bruises on the top of your feet like somebody was stepping on them. This is just a generic run through of some of our experiences in the home. And if anyone would like more in-depth posts, just let me know. Sorry, I'm shit at telling our story, but we'll definitely try to do better. Not gonna lie, just thinking about some of the experiences make me realize exactly how crazy it was to actually live it, even though it seemed normal to us back then. And I mean, that's true though, because I feel like unless you've grown up in a haunted house or lived in a haunted house, like I never, living in my grandparents' house and dealing with what I dealt with my entire life, would have been like, let me try and contact this thing. Like, or like you, like I never had like, and it's funny because like right now we're looking up, like I have a couple of friends helping me and I'm doing some research myself, trying to figure out the history of my childhood home. And what's crazy is like all this stuff coming up, like I almost like am mad because I'm like, I wish I would have, while I lived there, been more in like, I have like natural gifts, but I would have loved to have the investigative knowledge that I have now to get like physical evidence of like what happened there. Because when I think back on all the things that like I saw and what I went through, I'm like, that shit's pretty crazy. That's like really nuts.
Yeah.
Did you have any more stories?
No, that was it.
There's like a really long one, but I feel like it's like too long and I don't want to read anymore. I'm sick and tired. I'm like, it's really long. Let me see.
Hey, but that was really cool. As soon as I posted, I was like, we're looking for spooky haunted stories. And people are like, I got you.
They really came through. We had a lot. So I will play Leela since that one doesn't need to be read. So Leela Marvel of Drop Paranormal, she is just absolutely amazing and she's a really thorough investigator. So I really admire her for that. She recorded a little story for us. So I'm going to play that now and we can all kind of listen in.
So here's my ghost story. So first off, Leela Marvel from Delaware Researchers of the Paranormal, but wanted to submit my ghost story to you all to share, listen, see what you think. So, starting out with my dad. My dad, he lives in West Grove, Pennsylvania, and I spent like most of my half my childhood between like divorced parents up there, and it was built by like my great grandparents. And I think it was like farmland prior. So the house isn't super old, built in, I think, like the 40s. And, like then my grandmother lived there and my dad still lives there. And so anyways, I was probably like 9 or 10 years old. And it was like, I think in like the summer, because I remember like just being kind of warm. And I think I might have been like during like summer break too, or like spring or summer. And I remember my dad not being home. He was like working. So it was just my grandmother and I, and at this time she was, couldn't really go up the stairs anymore. She had, I think like, a cane or like a walker at this point. And anyway, so we're home alone during the day, and this is like in the morning, I believe, definitely like before noon. And at this time, like I said, she couldn't go up the stairs, but she had me go up to the second floor of the house. And like, the main floor is like the kitchen, living room. There's 2 bedrooms and a bathroom, but on the second floor is like 3 more bedrooms, like a big bedroom, and then there's like, some cubby holes there and like another full bathroom up there, and then like 2 little bedrooms. Anyways, she had me go upstairs and get my clothes from the bathroom upstairs, like off the clothes hanger. And so I went up there and I made it into the bathroom. I got the clothes, which was like kind of like on the right behind like the main door to get into the room. And I moved the door, got the clothes off the hanger, and when I turn around to the left, that's where like the sink would be and like the toilet and like a shelf with like little things on it. And so when I turned to the sink, underneath the sink, there was this old plug-in heater, like a metal heater with like V coils going up and down inside and like, a couple of knobs. And when I turned around, this heater, it started glowing red. And like if it was on, it didn't make any noise, but you could see like the coils just like light up red within like 10 seconds or so was when this whole thing happened. And I looked at it and I kind of followed, with my eyes, kind of went over to it a little bit to like look for the cord, and it wasn't plugged in. So that was like super weird. It kind of glowed for about 10 seconds and then kind of just like turned off. Like it like got hot and then turned off. And I kind of like just stood there for a minute, like what just happened, kind of just taking it all in. And I just like left. I just left the bathroom. I went back downstairs and, because I was like, okay, that's weird. Like it turned off, so I guess it's okay. And, I was like a young kid. So, I went downstairs and I didn't tell anybody for years. Like this was, kind of like this secret I had. And I think I probably told my mom when I was like in my 20s, like late 20s. And at that time, my grandmother she passed away. So I never really got to ask her about it because what my mom told me was that the same thing happened to my grandmother. I guess this heater is super old and I don't know where it came from, but it turned on for her too. So I'm not sure what that was all about and like who or what happened. But it was like kind of like, it was like poltergeist activity. Whether or not I did it like I made it turn on, I don't know, like with, being a young adolescent, hormonal, young girl. But the heater, I swear it's like still in the house. Like one day I know I'm going to find it. I'm going to have this like amazing haunted object. And, but a little bit more about the house as far as like other paranormal activity. Just over the years, we've heard like knocking, and my dad still lives there, and his friend Nancy lived there. And, they've experienced stuff when I haven't been there as far as like, hearing their name called and, like I said, knocking. We've done like a mini investigation, and we did a full-on investigation, myself, my husband Bruce, and our friend Jean from Drop Paranormal. And we did get an EVP that we think was responding to us, where we asked, do you like that we are here? And it's a male voice that responds. They all do. So that kind of gave us like goosebumps. It's so clear, it's so creepy. And that was taken upstairs in the main big bedroom. And just as like a kid, like my room was up there at one point. I always felt like you were being watched. And then when we did the other full investigation, we didn't get anything like the whole night. It was kind of like a bummer. I'm like, dang, this sucks. Like, but probably around like 1 or 2 in the morning, we were kind of tired of wrapping up. We're sitting on the couch, Bruce, my friend Jean, and I. And we're hearing movement at the top of the stairs, like something's pushing a box, like across the wooden floor. So that was really creepy. And the cat actually heard it too. The cat ran to the bottom of the stairs and like was like looking up.
See, there's those pet things again.
We've got an array of things over the years. Nothing ever solid as far as like names or anything like that. But could it be like my great-grandparents? I'm not sure. I actually don't even think anybody died in the house, but I would have to confirm that. So it could be the Lamborn family creeping around up there. But yeah, that's my ghost story. That was my first ever paranormal experience as a kid, and that kind of led me down the road of becoming a paranormal investigator. So hope you enjoyed my story, and I look forward to hearing other people's stories, and hope you enjoy. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah, so Leela is amazing. She's actually one of the peeps helping me find history on my old house that I grew up in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey. And it's so funny because so many of the monuments that I like had grown up seeing that was just kind of normal for me, have such deep, crazy history that like was under my nose for 20 plus years, my entire existence. And I am like, man, if I could go back, like there's so many great, like I would use my youth, my teenage years to do so much more investigating. Like it's so rich in history. Like, I didn't even know, like, there's like all these interconnected plantation houses that are still there that I didn't realize were I like had an inkling because they had a very plantation-y house look.
Mhm.
But yeah, so she's been helping me dig some stuff up, and she's really amazing at it. So definitely check out Drop Paranormal. She is awesome. So thank you so much, Leela, for submitting that, and also for helping me on my own paranormal grown up in a haunted house journey. And we all know Rachel already has a haunted house because she's got the ghost cat and she's got the computer ghost.
Yeah. Yep. We heard that cat a
Um,
couple times.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I mean, we've had some really great stories tonight. The last thing that we kind of I thought would just be like a fun little icebreaker for us to kind of talk about is some notoriously haunted houses that we've all kind of come to know and love, that have all started out as, like we said, we'll kind of circle back to it. The fact that people were, got the deal of a lifetime on a house, and was it the deal of a lifetime? We'll let you guys decide.
All place.
So number one, and this one's near and dear to my heart because it is the place where I captured my first EVP. Which actually, Rachel, if you want to read, can you read about
Where
number
are we?
one? It's for all the haunted houses that we have, because I actually was like, you know what, let me find the EVPs. I should have included that. That would have been fun to include.
Let me get on here like a professional. All right. So the Lizzie Borden House in Massachusetts. So the Lizzie Borden House, located in Fall River, Massachusetts, and infamous for I can't even speak, for one of the most shocking unsolved murders in American history. On August 4th, 1892, Andrew and Abby Borden were brutally killed with a hatchet in their home. Suspicion quickly fell on Andrew's daughter, Lizzie Borden, who had a tense relationship with her stepmother and stood to inherit a significant fortune. Let me learn how to read. Although there was circumstantial evidence against her, including the inconsistent statements and her attempt to purchase poison before the murders, that's your number one right there. She was ultimately acquitted for the sensational trial that would captivate the nation. Although she was acquitted, Lizzie was still an outcast in Fall River, ostracized by neighbors.
Ostracized, Worcestershire, vegetable.
There. She moved into a grand home she named Maplecroft and lived the rest of her life there under a cloud of suspicion. The case became a cultural phenomenon, inspiring books, films, and even the darkly catchy nursery rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. The true identity of the killer remains unknown, fueling endless speculation and conspiracy theories. Today, the Borden home operates as a bed and breakfast and ghost tour destination, drawing in true crime enthusiasts and paranormal investigators alike. Many believe the house is haunted, with visitors reporting strange noises, shadowy figures, and other eerie occurrences. Whether one finds for the history, the mystery, or the chance to experience something supernatural, the Lizzie Borden house remains one of the most infamous crime scenes in American history.
And one thing I will say is the Lizzie Borden house so far, I mean, I haven't been to many locations. It was one of my more higher profile locations. And it was active, and the stuff going on there was insane. The stuff that I picked up on, the activity that we got, the basement, I would really only recommend if you're a seasoned investigator or somebody that really knows how to protect yourself. There are things in that basement that I really think it's not somewhere that should just be open to the public, because it could be very dangerous. Because there are things down there that I think are a little bit more malevolent and of a malicious nature. But it is the spot where I caught my very first EVP. So I wanted to show you guys, in case you haven't seen this video yet. I want to see what you guys think. And I think there might be captions on this. If there isn't, I want to know what you guys hear.
Do you want us to flip over these autopsy pictures?
Can you hear that good?
A little bit.
Flip over these autopsy pictures.
It might have to. Let me try and Oh gosh.
What's happening?
It's just changing itself. Hold on.
Oh my fucking God, Morgan.
Hold on. So that was our reveal.
Do you want us to flip over these autopsy pictures?
Can you hear that?
I can hear. I don't know exactly what it's saying, but I can hear it.
So my aunt there were things there that I will say I just ethnicality wise like did not agree with and I wasn't a fan of, because I do think that people like we wouldn't take somebody's crime scene photos today in like modern day and just display them. Like we wouldn't also like re-mock up a crime scene if it's a popular museum and tourism site and leave the mannequins out, you know, for people to see. And you know what I'm saying? So I do feel like there were some things that I didn't agree with. And one of them that me and my aunt found particularly distasteful that kind of bothered me was they had all the crime scene photos laminated and laid out on the dining room table. Like some like pretty graphic photos. And so they were laying face up so you can see them and everything. And I said to my aunt, like, just out of respect, I don't really like this. Like, let's just like flip them over. And so my aunt was like, hey, this would be a good time to do like a spirit box. Let's ask them, you know, what they think. And so when I pulled out my EMF reader, I pulled out like all my tools, I set everything up. And I set it in the middle of the table. And we had a lot of newer, like, just people that were there for kind of like funsies. They weren't seasoned investigators. They didn't really like, you know. And so they were like, what does this do? What does that do? So I kind of explained everything to them. And I said, this is what we should see happen. Like, let's see if it happens. So everybody was like dead quiet. And we were watching, and the EMF reader's in the middle of the table. And I'm filming the door because I kept feeling a very strong presence coming from the right of me, which I later found out is definitely a portal that's in the room right to the right. So there were things coming and going. In that right doorway, I was filming it, and my aunt said, do you want us to turn these pictures over? And you could hear clear as day, it says over. And I was like, when I magnified the sound, because my cousin was still here, she's sitting in my office and she's sitting on the floor playing with Bosley. And I'm like, let's go through the footage from our weekend in Massachusetts. So we're looking through it, and we both, like, I knew it wasn't just me, because as soon as we heard it, we just stopped and we looked at each other and we were like, and she goes, holy shit. Like, it was so clear. And like, I wish there was a way I can magnify it on here, but it says over.
Mm.
And it was right after she asked, and we were like, oh my gosh. But there were a lot of crazy things that happened there. We had the REM pod going off. We had some more, like, they weren't as clear, so I didn't feel comfortable like saving them as an EVP, but definitely some noises and voices and lots of stuff, shadows in the basement. It was pretty crazy.
Mhm.
So that one is an honorable mention by far, because it was really, really cool. The next one that I'm going to touch upon that I talked about earlier was my personal favorite, A Haunting in Connecticut. So for all of my people who are a fan of the show A Haunting in Connecticut was one of the first in the A Haunting series, and this is back in the early 2000s. Like, I just remember, here I am living in my grandparents' haunted house. And there was like, I had my signature spot by the heater in the wall. Like, I used to slip my little sleeping bag and like in by the heater, so it kept my toes nice and toasty. And then I'd curl up and watch my haunted shows and my spooky stuff. And so it was like new episode of A Haunting. And so I'm laying there in my little sleeping bag, and me and my grandma and my grandpa were all like glued to the TV. And it was A Haunting in Connecticut. And so basically, this family, their son had, I believe it was leukemia. It was some kind of cancer. They found this house that was closer to his cancer treatments, but because of the cancer treatments, all that stuff, they were obviously limited in their funds. But they found this absolutely beautiful home for a steal, and they moved in. And it's a pretty decent sized home. So it was perfect. They put the son in the basement, and there was just a lot of things that kind of took place. He started to get worse. His behavior, his mental state started to really deteriorate. They started to kind of do some digging because he was talking about some seriously scary stuff kind of going on in the basement. And lo and behold, they did not know this. There was a room in the basement that he went into, and I believe it was him that discovered weird instruments and just things that were odd, and they found out that they had moved into a funeral home. So this is a very popular Ed and Lorraine Warren case. I remember seeing her on the show A Haunting, talking about this. And there was like the family ended up moving out, and there's been a lot of hearsay on it was real, it wasn't, he was under medication, so it's not, I don't know, but I just know that story gave me the heebie-jeebies. It was a really spooky episode. If you have not seen it, look up or find a way to watch it, because it's just one of those cozy, scary, like based on a true story thing that like it's just absolutely terrifying the way that they recreated it, and they did a really good job because it still haunts me as a 30-year-old woman. So when we were talking about growing up in a haunted house, that was one of the first cases that I thought of because it was the first haunting that really kind of knocked my socks off.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have the Amityville house. Another hot take, Ed and Lorraine Warren. There has been a lot of pictures captured there. They're very like jarring, the little ghost boy that's kind of like by the banister. And so another good one. And then we have the Whaley house in San Diego, California. The Whaley house, if you're not familiar, this one I hear a lot about, and I have a lot of investigator friends and people in the paranormal who have actually investigated there. And they have said some crazy things about the Whaley house and how crazy it was. So it's considered one of the most haunted homes in the US with a dark and chilling history that spans several decades. It was built in 1857 by Thomas Whaley, and the house initially served as the Whaley family residence, but it was used for various purposes, including a theater and the store. There were several deaths here, and they are believed to have been contributed to by its haunted reputation. So one of the most significant and eerie events was the death of Thomas Whaley's son, who passed away from scarlet fever in the house, and the tragic suicide of a man named James Yankee Jim Robinson, who was hanged on the property before the house was even built. These early deaths set the stage for a series of paranormal occurrences. I won't give too much away because I do think this is one that a lot of you guys just need to look up and watch some of the videos on. But there's just like there's all of these spirits have been spotted. Your typical haunting activities, behaviors. It's spooky. So one that's on my bucket list for sure. And Rachel, I'd love to hear your take. Winchester Mystery House.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about California, I would love to get out there. My aunt has been there and she had pictures and stuff, and it just looks crazy. Like I feel like
weird.
imagine like closing up there, like being like an employee there. Like
So
I
weird.
feel like I think this is just an intrusive thought, but I have like an irrational fear of opening up the door that goes to nowhere and just falling to my death. Like I'm like, bro, like when is that ever gonna happen? But like, but yeah, so like Winchester Mystery House is another spooky house that I would love to, but Rachel, what would be like your spooky house bucket list, like to live in?
To live in?
To live in.
I don't know. I do want to go to Lizzie Borden. I've listened to.
Have you ever? So you've never been?
Never been.
Weren't you just in Massachusetts?
We were.
Girl, what you doing?
I know. We were doing all the things.
But we know, Rachel. We know you and your blue orb and your voice notes.
Yes. Yep.
I love it. Rachel's just living her best life.
It was really cool. But I listened to 2 podcasts, and they went and they got a lot of evidence and things like that, like especially where there were kids and kids' toys, and you could hear things. And I was like, this is, you know how some people are like, fake it till you make it. But I was like, these are legit like evidence here.
I'm telling you, like I literally, because I've done EVPs everywhere I've investigated. I have a recorder that's really good. And I haven't found anything crazy yet. Like I haven't had luck with EVPs.
Mhm.
So the fact that I caught this on my GoPro and I wasn't even expecting it. I was like, oh, let's just view the video and see if we caught anything like physically, like moving or because the things that you can feel there, like there's definitely an oppressive energy, but I also think there's a lot of angry spirits there due to the fact that I don't think things are done respectfully. And I like wanted to see something physical. So when we were running the video and I heard that, like it wasn't like it was magnified, it was just like just literally playing a GoPro video. And when we both stopped and looked at each other, I was like, that was the clearest demonstration of like an EVP that you can get. Like that was loud, clear, and to the point. So I mean, I've experienced more activity, and I think it was only like a 4-hour investigation. It wasn't anything crazy, and they spent most of the time talking. So really, you only got to investigate for like an hour and a half, maybe. And in that time, the amount of stuff that we got, like it's definitely worth it. I wish that they would do like heftier investigations or like privates, which I think you can stay there. I don't want to stay there.
Mm-mm.
I want to just go for as long as I possibly can and then just dip out.
Yeah.
But yeah, you it takes a little while to shake off the ickiness. Like there's a lot going on there.
Isn't that you hear that story about somebody taking a Ouija board and they returned it? Is that
Uh-huh.
is that there? That's what I thought.
No, so they do have it in the it's like the what are they? It's like the gift shop. It's basically like the outhouse, like the carriage house type looking thing, but they turned it into like the gift shop and restrooms and stuff. And it's where I got my favorite dowsing rods. They have really cool dowsing rods there. But they have like a case full of like little artifacts that they found in the basement at the house. But yeah, somebody did. So they gave you a whole speech that like we're not allowed to use like certain divination tools. One of them being a Ouija board because they had one. Somebody stole it. Then they brought a note. They like sent the Ouija board back with a letter like apologizing profusely and we're like, please just make it stop. Like
God.
and I'm like, dude, rule number 1, don't steal from a haunted location. Like,
oh, we're starting to talk about Ouija boards. You're getting fuzzy on
yeah,
my
we're not screwing up Rachel's connection tonight. Did you see? You know what's weird? I said that, and now it says my connection is unstable. It says if you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging into your router or moving closer. And I'm like, homeboy, we've been on for how long? An hour and a half, and well, that's our cue, guys. Bye.
There it is. Goodbye.
Irish goodbye. No, but seriously, yeah. So those are like our top places. Lizzie Borden's really, really cool. We've had some really good listener stories. I think this has been a really fun episode. Thank you to everybody that contributed to it. Thank you to our 1,000 followers and all of our listeners. If there's anything else that you want to see or there's things that you like that we've done, follow us on our socials. Let us know what you want to see. Go to www.theghoulfriendhourpodcast.com. We have lots of cool stuff on there. We have had some really cool interview collabs with other peeps. So you can watch us not do the interviewing for once. Check out our merch because we still have a ton of really cool candles and sweatshirts and little knicky-knacks. So yeah, on that note, everybody, we hope you have a super spooky night. And thanks for joining.
Yeah. There it is.
Bye.
Bye.